Around the World in 80 Days. It's a classical adventure novel by the French writer Jules Verne, which was published in 1873. Now, in the story, Phileas Fogg of London and his newly employed French valet Passepartout attempt to travel around the world in 80 days on a 20,000 wager. Now, wager is a bet. 20,000 pound of that time is roughly 2 million pounds today. This wager was set by his friends at the Reform Club, and it is one of Verne's most acclaimed works. So the fictional story starts in London on Tuesday, October 1, 1872. Mr. Phileas Fogg is extremely particular about his daily schedule, meals and habits. He carefully observes a clock in his house that displays the hours, minutes, seconds, days, months and years. And Mr. Fogg even fires his servant for bringing him shaving water that is 2 degrees cooler than he prefers. Fogg hires a Frenchman by the name of Jean Passepartout as a replacement. So next day at 11:30 a.m., Fogg goes about his typical routine of walking to the Reform Club, where he eats breakfast and reads newspapers until the dinner hour. And after his evening meal, he plays whist with his usual partners, that is Andrew Stuart, John Sullivan, Samuel Fellington, Thomas Flanagan and Gaudier Ralph. Like Fogg, these men are also wealthy and highly respectable members of the Reform Club. In the Daily Telegraph, stating that with the opening of a new railway section in India, it's now possible to travel around the world in 80 days. So while they play whist, they all discuss a recent robbery of 55,000 pounds from the Bank of England by a well-to-do gentleman. Stuart thinks that the world is big enough for the thief to escape, but Fogg and Ralph believe that the world has grown smaller since men can now travel around it 10 times more quickly than they could a century ago. So Fogg and Sullivan figure that it only takes 80 days to go around the world by train and steamboat. But Stuart doesn't believe it, and he bets Fogg 4,000 pounds that he cannot make the trip in such a short amount of time. Fogg accepts the challenge, wagering 20,000 of his own, and the other men agree to the bet. He declares that he will catch the train to Dover, England at 8:45 p.m. that evening, October 2nd, and will be due back at the Reform Club at 8:45 p.m. on December 21st, exactly 80 days later. To make things all official, the 6 men sign an agreement. The friends suggest that Phileas go home and peck, but Fogg dismisses this and tells them he hasn't finished playing cards yet. So he finishes his whist game, winning 20 guineas in the process, and then he heads back home. Passepartout is pretty amazed that his obsessively on-time master shows up at home several hours early. He's even more shocked when Phileas tells him they are leaving for Dover and Calais in 10 minutes. Say what? Passepartout can't believe he's going around the world with Fogg. He'd so been looking forward to a quiet, uneventful life with this guy. He thinks to himself, perhaps this is all a joke, and maybe they will only go a little ways before Fogg decides he has had enough fun and comes home. Passepartout packs all their traveling stuff into a carpet bag, and then Phileas proceeds to dump a roll of banknotes in £20,000 worth. He tells Passepartout to take good care of it. No pressure. They lock the door and start off. Upon reaching the train station, a beggar woman asks them for alms. Mr. Fogg gives her 20 guineas, and Passepartout are extremely touched by his generosity. The friends from the Reform Club are at the train station to see them off. Fogg tells them he'll get a stamp in his passport for each of the countries he has been in when going around the world, so they can be assured he's really been doing what he said instead of taking an extended vacation. As they start to snooze comfortably on the train, Passepartout realizes suddenly that he left the gas on in his room. Fogg calmly tells him that this expense would be cut from his salary. So I hope you liked the story. We'll meet in the next video. Goodbye.